guys, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We're going to get right into the math on this video, but here's what would be left over from the $22 trillion we make on average per year. And remember, these are rough cut numbers. If we were to go ahead and pay the SSI amounts in the following fashion: 54% of the poverty line. So poverty line, let's just right down here. That's what the current average is. $794 per month. That's a 74% of the poverty line. 100% of the poverty line is the Supplemental Security Income Restoration Act amount. That's like what people are like, wow, that would be amazing, that would be mind-boggling. But it's actually not. It's actually not. 115%, what I think is more reasonable. 130%, maybe that's something we should look into. If we were to pay 150%, 115% above the poverty line, 130%. You know, let's make some names for these. 54%. Let's call that the current average one. Okay, let's put that in. Current average. Okay, that's the crappy one. Right? 74%. That's the current maximum amount you can get on SSI. So we'll put current max. 100%. We'll call that the SSI Restoration Act one. 115%. Let's call this the SSI ethical standard. Let's just call it that, the ethical standard. Instead of a restoration, we're doing a standard, an ethical standard. Let's call this 130% above the poverty line, the SSI, let's just call it the quality standard. Let's do that, quality standard. No, better yet, the wellness standard. Let's do that, wellness standard. Cool, we've just created our programs, right? Why not? Nobody else is doing it. Let's just make our own programs up. What are our bills going to be? You've got the current amount, the current max amount, the SSI Restoration Act, the SSI Ethical Standard, and the SSI Wellness Standard. And you just put an act at the end of the last two: SSI Ethical Standard Act and the SSI Wellness Standard Act, or the SSI Wellness Act, or the SSI Ethical Act. There you go. Okay, cool. We're now going to be legislating. I actually have one that I was working on, but we'll just add the math to it, but there'll be more specific numbers based on the actual calculations. Rough cut numbers. Here's what you would have left over at each one of these stages: the current average, current max, SSI Restoration Act, SSI Ethical Act, and SSI Wellness Act. Okay, let's do that. Boom, add a little act there. Boom, add a little act there. Cool. All right, 54%. That's the national average of $586 per month. If you were to multiply that by the yearly cost, multiply that by 8 million people, and then go ahead and add on the expense of the admin cost to run the SSI program, and then subtract that from $22 trillion, you would end up with $21,941 billion left over. You would be left over with, as a government, to spend. They don't pay taxes on their own stuff. As a government, you would be left over with $21,941 billion. That's what we currently have as the national average for SSI, $586 a month. It's 54% the poverty rate. At 74%, the full max amount, $794 a month, totaling $9,528 per year, with admin costs added to it to run the SSI program. If you were to subtract that total amount, $78 billion, 0.779, from $22 trillion, what we make per year, the American, we would still have to spend as an American economy, as the federal government, $21,921. A lot of money. A lot of money would still be left. Okay, that's if we just got rid of the SSI in-kind support maintenance rule. If we just got rid of that rule, that's what basically it would cost the federal government. Peanuts. Peanuts. Unsalted peanuts. Plain peanuts. SSI Restoration Act. Now we're adding salt. Okay. All right, SSI Restoration Act, 100% the poverty level, $1,073 per month, $12,880 per year. If we did that, added on the admin costs, and then subtracted it from the $22 trillion this country makes a year, we would have left over as a country to spend $21 trillion $894 billion. Yeah. Shadow, you okay? Shadow's licking his foot. SSI Ethical Act. Okay. SSI Ethical Act. 150% above the poverty rate, you're getting $1,234 per month. You're getting $14,812 per year. If we subtracted the total amount that it would cost the federal government with admin costs added, $120,555 million. From the $22 trillion, we end up with $21,879 billion. That's what's left over. We now have salted peanuts being served on the plane. Now we're going to go to the SSI Wellness Act. The SSI Wellness Act are quality peanuts, salted, gently caressed into a canister, if you will, at 130%. Right? SSI Wellness Act, we'll just call it that. At 130%, you're getting $1,395 per month. You're getting $16,744 per year. With admin fees added, that's $135,555 million. If you subtract that from $22 trillion, you get $21,864 billion left that the government can spend on other stuff. The government would have left over $21,864 billion left to spend on other stuff. I think it's pretty clear that the American people are suffering at the greed of the Republican and Democratic parties. I think it's pretty clear that if we're supposed to be a country for freedom, I mean, we can't even, we literally give $586 per month on average in 2021 to people who can't work, who are severely disabled, and somehow have to survive. You know, that's like, I don't know what unethical level that is. I mean, it's not murder, and it's not manslaughter, but it's like PTSD abuse. You know, it's trauma. It's trauma to somebody. It's a financial slavery. I mean, you know, we look at America's history with slavery. They were enslaving, African Americans, which were just called Africans and Islanders back then. The Irish, the Scottish, Island Pacific individuals. America has a long history of slavery. Almost everybody that came here was a slave at some point. Almost every, aspect. The current slaves are American students, massive student loan. And SSI recipients, they are a financial slave to the system. And I know you're thinking, well, they don't have to get SSI. Okay. But then how do they exist, right? How do they exist in America built on an economy system that requires U.S. tender to buy food, to buy transportation, to buy the lights that go on, the water that comes out of the faucet, to buy the AC that comes out of the vents? How do they buy those things if they can't get that money? Oh, well, they don't have to take it. No, they do. They do have to take it. And then on top of that, they're like, oh, well, yeah, no, you can only earn this much. You can only do this, and you can get these other benefits up to this amount. It's just, the more I get into this, the more a crock of crap it is. It's just a America starts a lot of green companies that purposely fail. Go look them up. They make donations, somebody gets in, the companies get a bunch of money from the government, they get dissolved, or they get sold to a foreign nation. What if we invested that money back into American corporations that are successful? What if we were able to make not $22 trillion a year, But what if we were able to use those funds to start building like all of the rich families and the rich people? And what if we as a nation had more money than all these rich people to play with, which we do, $22 trillion a year. And what if we were able to take that and reinvest it and properly invest it like all these Wall Street guys do? And then instead of making $22 trillion a year, we're making, $30 trillion a year. We're making another $30 trillion a year. We started going positive, like the Clinton years. Not that Clinton was a mathematician by any stretch. It's just the government didn't become what it was until during and then after Clinton. The mass manipulation really took swing during and then after his presidency. What if we just, invested appropriately? I know a lot of people say we don't have to give the SSI people anything. And I get that argument. I get it. But to me, it doesn't make sense, because if you don't give them anything, then they're going to have to steal from you. They're going to have to commit crimes to exist. Right? I don't know. We just went through these numbers. Nowhere in these numbers, they span from this: 54% of the poverty line, 21,941 billion, all the way up to the big one, 130%, the poverty level, the SSI Wellness Act. That would be essentially 21,864 billion. 21.9 trillion versus 21.8 trillion to give SSI people $1,395 per month. It's actually more than that, 0.33333 and 33 cents. The math doesn't make sense anymore. The more I look into this, the more I just realize, like, there's no reason. There's no reason why we don't support SSDI benefits more, retirement benefits more, SSI benefits more. It's just no reason other than literally the greed of politicians. And you know how you get rid of the greed of politicians? You don't let them be politicians anymore. No long-term politicians. We all know long-term judges. That's a different gig. I get that, okay? But long-term politicians? No. No. Absolutely not. You get 2 terms, you get 3 terms, whatever, and then you're out. That would fix much of this. The other thing that would fix much of this is that USSI individuals that are seeking it, that are already on it, you have to group together. You have to create a union, a club, or whatever. You have to group together, all of you, and figure out a way to stand on your foundational ethical standards to get yourself up to 115, 130% of the poverty standard. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you a little bit later. Remember to like, subscribe. The thing you can really help me with is leaving 5-star reviews on Google. Down below, there's all the links. You don't have to do anything. Just click the link. It takes you right to it. Attorney Walter Knott. Remember, I go live 8 to 10 every Thursday. If you're already on benefits or, you have questions or whatever, call me then. That's when I donate 2 hours. The 9 to 5 is just for law firm stuff. That's like, people looking to apply for benefits, people who are looking to go to a hearing, got to deny, whatever. That's that stuff. So don't call during the 9 to 5 if you want to talk about this stuff. Call during the 8 to 10 Thursday Eastern Standard Time live on YouTube time. All right? Have an absolutely wonderful day. I'll catch you a little bit later. We'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.